Happy Monday morning. If you're in the United States, happy National Library Day week. Happy National Library Week. And get down to your local library because they really need your support. Being that this is the first of these videos, I want to do a disclaimer that I haven't done a book report since high school. And maybe I did a few in college. I don't remember. But I know my opinion could be taken very positively or very negatively, depending on your own reaction to this book, or to Katherine Center, because I think I've heard her name a time or two. I was going to record outside today, but the wind's been really bad all night, and we're supposed to get some rain, and yeah. The light's great out there, not in my truck. Not great at all. But, this is what I gotta do. Okay, so, Katherine Center. This is my introduction to her. I've never heard of her, and I've never read anything by her before. So this was it. I apologize if I say something offensive. If you don't agree with my opinion, it is just my take, and not being a romance novel connoisseur or even a rom-com connoisseur, I didn't hate it. Okay, I did not hate it. So let me be frank about that because this sounds really bad to start off with. Take what I say with a grain of salt and don't let me do your thinking for you. So, over this weekend, I read The Rom-Commers by Katherine Center. And if you did not catch my video, it was a blind date selection. I had no idea what I was going to be reading until I unwrapped it. So I do have a video on that. It's kind of a romantic notion, isn't it? To not know what you're going to be reading. All I knew about this book was that it was about screenwriting. And it was humorous and a romance. I don't know if I found it. I don't know if I found it that humorous. Maybe. Now I have to think back, like, over all my notes. Like, did I actually laugh very much? I'm originally from California, and I'm into screenwriting, so I snatched this up right away. And I guess I should have known that other people would be coming here. So, quick recap. Emma and Charlie are both screenwriters. Charlie is super world famous, and Emma is actually, she's from Texas, so part of this book takes place in Texas. Now, personally, I do understand the appeal of falling for a writer. I mean, she's kind of obsessed with him. I'm not exactly obsessed with any writers, but I do understand being attracted to a writer. Because when I get crushes, they're almost exclusively on writers or writer characters. Even though I've never dated one. And bonus points if he sometimes wears glasses. I know I have no hope with any of those men. So reading this was a guilty pleasure on many levels. I did take notes. I have notes here, and I have notes in my laptop. So I will be referring to those because I want to make sure that I don't miss anything because ADD, I will miss everything. Let's start with the cover. I didn't say in the unwrapping video, but it's giving Florida vibes a lot more than it gives SoCal. Even the tropical plants on the inside covers, it annoyed me because that's Florida vibes, and I went in with the presumption that this was designed for beachside Florida reading rather than SoCal. Definitely not Hollywood. But every aspect here does tie into elements in the story, from the flowers on the spine right down to the strappy dress that she's wearing. Everything was covered. I'm gonna put that down because I keep playing with it. So I was initially critical. I'm self-conscious because people are driving by and looking. It's my first time, you know, doing a book review reaction, and this is also my first time being out in public recording where people can hear me. So, yeah. I was initially critical, but I actually approve now that I've read the book. But if I picked this up off the shelf, I would not have given it a chance because it looks too sunny. It does. It definitely gives beach read. So, if you're not watching and just listening, the cover is giving 70s sunset plus modern illustration with just a touch of pop art in the background. The sky is, I said purple, but I also said fuchsia, leaning towards purple on the fuchsia scale. The sun is your basic red. Then you have two different shades of orange, blue, and two different shades of green at the bottom. And this carries through to the back cover. So again, this is for anybody who's listening and not really watching. When I was a kid, my mom had these pillowcases from the 70s, and it was mountains with the sun setting behind them. I don't know, this makes me think of that. Like, it really made me think of that. It's weird. And, you know, I guess pink and orange as a color combination really had its time in the 80s. So, back to the book. The main character, Emma, has red curly hair pulled up into her signature pom-pom. She is wearing a strappy hot pink maxi dress and black slide sandals. And then her love interest, Charlie, has brown hair with some good body to it. And he's actually wearing a lot of layers. So he's wearing what looks like a green sports coat, and under that is a white hoodie. And then peeking out from beneath that is a blue button-up, blue collared button-up. He's got jeans and black Converse, low tops, not high tops. And throughout the book, that's also what she's wearing. And he notices that they're wearing the same shoes, but she doesn't until like near the end, which is kind of weird that she's aware of, you know, nothing. She doesn't take in her surroundings, which it doesn't seem plausible. This is not in my notes. Just it doesn't seem plausible that she did not take in her surroundings, given that she has to be diligent about her surroundings at home because of her dad. Like, it would be a natural inborn part of her character that everywhere she's at, she's noticing, you know, this has sharp corners, that has dull edges, you know, because of her dad's condition. Not because she would be thinking about taking her dad to Charlie's house or to Los Angeles in general, but because that's just part of the psychology, spending 10 years taking care of your sick dad. The psychology is so deeply ingrained in you that you don't see beyond that until you give yourself permission to. And even then, all of that psychological, everything just comes with, it's a package. So she does not take notice. She does not calculate the danger risk factor anywhere else. Just in her house. Not even in the neighbor's house. Not out on the street, not in the car. Just in her own house, where she has secured the sharp corners. And then she said that the neighbor secured her sharp corners because her dad sometimes spends time down there at the neighbor's house. You know, she spent all of her time and energy memorizing every single fact about his condition, she would also not be able to go anywhere without doing a risk assessment for the location. The inside cover has this tropical leaf motif that's found its way into everything, it seems, for the last 5 years. And then the back half of the spine is flowers blending over to the back of the cover. The blue and white ones really stand out, even the yellow ones, but the rest are very blended. It's hard to really see that this is flowers and not just kind of a mashup of stuff. You have to look closely to recognize that it's flowers, basically. So I did mark some places that I wanted to talk about here. Like I said, Emma's been taking care of her dad. He's got a condition that is a result of a rock fall. He was hit in the head with a rock, and that caused permanent damage with dizziness and stuff. So she's spent the last 10 years taking care of him. So she gets a call from her ex-boyfriend, and he's a manager, a Hollywood manager, and he says, hey, I've got this 6-week job for you. You're going to fly out, you're going to work with this award-winning screenwriter, because he wrote a really bad play, a really bad screenplay, and you're going to help make it better. And she's like, I got to take care of my dad. And the sister finds out, and she's like, this is the opportunity of a lifetime for you. I've graduated college. I don't have anything that will change my life happening right now. So let me do this for you. And she's sort of like strong-armed into it. And then, she goes to Hollywood. She meets Charlie. All the rom-com things happen, and happy ending because it's a romance. Now, I did initially go in critical, but after a while, I stopped myself and I said, just enjoy this. Because it's a book, just enjoy it. So I went in initially critical, and then I enjoyed it. So I didn't want to hate on, like, what if this is somebody's favorite book? I didn't want to hate on it for the entire duration of my review. So first tab. So we begin. First tab is on page 2. First tab on page 2. We begin with a phone call and some backstory. Now, for me, how this story started out was so fast-paced that it made me dizzy. Like, I had to read it in small batches because it was just so much back and forth dialogue all at once. Straight away, out of the gate, paws in the dirt, we're flying. Like, short, snappy sentences. The structure, this short, snappy structure, it comes and goes throughout the novel. So, like, if it was just continuous, that would not have been something I could keep up with. It's a lot to digest at once. And the writing is easy to understand. And it does its job of conveying the message that we are going to Hollywood. Real modern Hollywood with schmoozy agents and nepo babies on a whirlwind 6-week adventure. It's a lot to take in, but makes that first 30 pages go by really fast. I could probably learn a thing or two. Alright, so the second note. The second note about the book is not about the book. It is about this. This is not the proper way. Do you see this? This is not how you hold a page. That's not how you mark your page for future reference. That is not how we treat books. Fortunately, that's the only page that's like that. But we do not treat books that way. We treat books with respect. Yes. I raised my kids that way. You do not mess that book up. All right. On to the next one. Page 59. There's a negotiation for how much she charges because she took extensive notes on the screenplay. He's being strong-armed into this as well. He does not want to hire her, but he wants those notes. Like, she spent days going over every single aspect of the screenplay, taking extensive notes, and he's like, I want that. I want to know what you saw. I want to know what you think. So how much to consult? I'm glad that he recognized her talent. But they're doing this negotiation. And it really, I haven't watched it in a while, but as soon as I read it, I did almost DNF because after that crazy beginning, I did not want to read something that was done better somewhere else. You know, it was 300, she said. He said, what's your going rate? $250 an hour? And she said 300, and then they settled on 3,000. If you're familiar with Pretty Woman, that is the entire scene for her to stay overnight with him. I'm supposed to find this charming, but it was kind of repulsing. It was very off-putting that, I don't know, it was supposed to be a cute nod to a classic film, but I kind of hate myself for not liking it. I don't know. They don't carry the Pretty Woman theme throughout the book. It is just that one instance, and it makes me think of lazy writing, because if this was carried throughout the novel, then I could understand, you know, that this was a genuine nod to Pretty Woman. But for that one instance to be almost word for word, you should read it and decide for yourself if you feel the same way. Let's go to the next. We're gonna get better. We're gonna, get better. Not yet though. Page 73. The begging. Oh my gosh. I'm surprised he didn't get on his knees and beg her to work with him. Okay, so he realized how talented she was when she ripped him a new one, and she wants to go home. And he's begging her, stay, be my partner, do this 6-week stint with me, help me write this way better. And it's day 2, she's going home. She's like, no, I don't want to do this. I want to go home. And he's being kind of immature and childish, which does carry throughout the book. He's got this immature, childish streak, which I think is supposed to be charming also. Reminds me of a 19-year-old. He does. Throughout this book, he reminds me of a 19-year-old. And, he really does. He's supposed to be 35, but he reminds me of a 19-year-old. So, to get her to stay, he resorts to lying to her. And she falls for it. She falls for it right away. And she never questions, like, why did he just do this 180, turn on a heel, give me exactly what I want to get me to stay? He was staunchly die-hard set against. And then suddenly, made that 180 switch and said, I will give you what you want instead of what I want. And it didn't send off any alarm bells in her head at all. And I guess that upset me because I'm not a rom-com gal, but a lot of young women are. I know he's resorting to any means necessary, but then she finds out later on. Two separate times she finds out about him lying. She never confronts him about it, never calls him out on it, never makes him answer for it. She's upset about the job, but not about the fact that he continuously lies about it. I guess in my perspective, what I want all people to know is that in real life, being lied to should be addressed immediately because nobody should be afraid to have boundaries. And being lied to is not a challenge to prove yourself worthy. Okay, actually, let me put that on silent. Being lied to is not a challenge to prove yourself, to prove your value to the person who lied to you. Liars don't want either of those things to happen. And that's what Emma's doing this whole time. She's trying to validate herself through Charlie's approval of her. But nothing is ever good enough because lying isn't about her, it's about him. And she's actually more upset about her ex-boyfriend lying to her than she is about Charlie lying to her. Like, she feels safe to address the ex-boyfriend lying to her because he's gay and married and he's not in any form ever going to be a romance interest, but the guy that she is, supposed to build this trust and develop a life with, prospectively, she can't have boundaries, and it's an unhealthy message. It's all a means to an end, though, because when the story ends, everybody gets what they want. The only person that is unhappy is the Nepo baby. And there has to be somebody unhappy. Can't make everybody happy. Let's go to the next tab. I think we're 5 or 6 in now. 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright. Now, this is a lot longer than I thought it would. I thought this would be a 15-minute video at best, but it's long. And I'm glad it's long. But it's long. So, tab 5. I want to read from the book this paragraph that really resonated with me. I was not stingy with my crushes. I had a thing for the guy at the meat counter and the doc who'd stitched my dad up and a cute young maintenance guy. I fell in love all the time. Just nobody fell in love with me back. And, well, I thought I was alone in feeling like this, that nobody else got crushes like these, that everybody was more extroverted, more willing to go after what they wanted. And I thought everybody else made time for romance. I did not know that I would identify, sorry, hair keeps getting in my mouth, that I would identify with the main character in that way. And I don't even make time to go to karaoke with my friends. Like, I just don't make time for the opportunity for love to come in. I don't. So, to say that her sacrifice really felt real at this point in the book, and we're 83 pages in, she made me want to take this journey with her at this point. Like, at no point before this was I invested in her. I could have put the book down and walked away and known, things would be fine. But now I'm rooting for her, even though she annoys me, because I can't have it all. That segment made me want to fall in love with Charlie, with her. Because at least in books it could happen. And because I decided that, I was smiling after the well-written ending. It just took me a third of the book to get to that I want romance to work point. And because I was so open to romance and because I was satisfied by this ending, when I went to bed, I I had a dream that one of those eternal crushes of mine confessed feelings for me, and my heart was soaring. And I woke up with a smile so big, and I miss him. This was somebody that I've known since I was a teenager, back in California. So just those emotions that created just working themselves through my brain. So back to the book. Okay. Next tab. Okay, so now we're on page 177. And speaking of fictional love, they're in this dance class. Okay. Y'all, I about screamed. Um, they're in this dance class with this hot instructor. He's Italian, and his name is Lorenzo. My novel, my current work in progress, has a character, a hot Italian dance instructor named Lorenzo. He's one of the two love interests in my novel. And, God. So, Starlit Nights. If you want to see a character like this guy, not Charlie, the hot Italian dance instructor named Lorenzo, if you want to see um if you want to see my Lorenzo get appassionato sulla pista de battle, then subscribe because he does, and you won't want to miss it. Okay. um Page 202. Okay, so this is a writing note, like a word choice note. It's written here on YouTube. I said, like, duh. So she does that a lot, and it lends fantastically to the voice of the novel. But sometimes I don't want to be told how to hear the dialogue. It did keep me on track for the up-tempo speed of the book, but it's that it's noticeable. It is very noticeable. And then, wow, 100 pages later. So that was on page 202 that I took that note, and then on page 303 is, I was invested for literally 100 pages. I think 202 led up to the kiss scene. And from there, I really wanted to see the end. I wanted to see it through to the end once that kiss scene happened. I actually worried at one point that I wasn't finding anything of note in those 100 pages, but really it's a roller coaster of a time. And okay, so there's a drunk Charlie, and there's a sister argument, and then Dad got hurt, and Emma has to run through the airport to go home, and there's so much that I loved about the second half of the book that I only vaguely cared that I didn't have notes. I was invested in the second half. Like, I flew through it. Now that's that second half. That's also where you're gonna find the dress from the cover. But that dress was covered in those tropical leaves. That was the pattern on the dress, and it was supposed to be like the super most sexy thing ever. It didn't translate that way to me. It's slinky, it's strappy. I don't know. Maybe it was sexy, but it didn't feel sexy. It just felt like almost everyday beachwear. Almost. Fashion choice was questionable. Ah, my thing fell out. Okay. Note is that we're closing the book on positive encouragement. The stories we tell ourselves. If we only tell ourselves sad stories, then those are the only stories that we have. And we live through these perceptions of ourselves, and we mold our ego and superego and id through these perceptions and through these words, and maybe the result isn't so great. because we don't use enough of a variety, like not enough positives. So this is leading towards the ending chapters, and it's absolutely beautiful and inspiring. And on that notion alone, I would recommend this book to everybody. Um, I think everybody should know this. There's nobody that these words that that ending wouldn't benefit. I think that's a great way to end a book. So that was the Rom-Commers. If I were to rate it, I guess on a scale of 6, with one being I nearly DNF'd, but forced myself through it and found nothing redeemable about it, and 6 being I'm going to secretly reread this before I return it, I would give it a 4, not 5. How about a 4.5? That's an inside reference to the novel, but you have to read the book to understand it. It was good. It was appealing, but it also felt like a limerent fantasy, which, to be honest, could be every romance novel ever written. This would be a perfect beach read. So if I ever find myself planning a vacation where I get to read with the sea breeze in my ears, I will take this book along. The breeze coming in right now, I think is blowing in from the south, so we're catching some Gulf air. I just I just thought about how it's like Gulf of America. It's Gulf of Mexico. It's the Gulf of Mexico. But everyone I know just calls it the Gulf. Because it's about writers and the writing process, that's where I'm sitting near a 5. But I am ready for another book. So, I will see you at the library. And again, if you're in the US, happy National Library Week and get to your library. I don't, I'm not professionally associated with the library in any way. I just am a member of my library and I grew up in libraries. Actually, everywhere that we moved to, I moved a lot, like a lot when I was growing up. Everywhere I went, my first destination was always the library, whether it was the school library or the city library. Everywhere we went, that was where you could find me. Like, as soon as my bags were unpacked, if even that long, I was running to wherever the library was, begging somebody to take me there if I was too little, That was my deal. So if you enjoyed this, then join me on Friday for the unwrapping of my next blind date book, and then on Mondays for my review. I have one more book that the library selected, and then from that I'm going to change things up a little bit because I want this to be an ongoing series because, like I said in that last video, this is absolutely my favorite way of getting books because it takes all the decision making out of it. I decide with a 3-word synopsis, do I want to read it or not? So I'm gonna do that. And I will see you next time. Have a wonderful Monday. Bye. I sit like that for an hour. It's not the most comfortable thing. Okay. And don't let me do my thinking. You're thinking for you. And actually, anyways.